All right, let's dive straight into this explainer. We're going to completely unplug for a few minutes and transport you far, far away from the endless noise and the buzzing screens of modern life. We're heading to one of the absolute most isolated and serene places on the planet, where a really unique community thrives at the literal top of the world. We're going to explore exactly how they live, what their daily routines look like, and honestly, most importantly, what their ancient practices can teach us about conquering our own chaotic minds. To really wrap your head around Spiti Valley, you have to understand the jarring contrast of its isolation. I mean, just picture Delhi for a second, a sprawling, incredibly dense, loud metropolitan hub. Now imagine a cold desert valley that is 10 times larger in sheer land mass, but holds less than 0.1% of Delhi's population. It's a level of emptiness and quiet that is honestly kind of hard for our modern brains to even comprehend. You get there by taking this winding, highly scenic bus journey from Manali to Kaza, which is the region's headquarters, and you just slowly leave the populated world entirely behind. And when you finally arrive in this beautiful, expansive region, the culture immediately shifts. You aren't greeted with a standard hello or a namaste. Instead, the locals who speak Puri, which is a type of Tibetan language, they welcome you with this super cheerful, ringing Juli. It's just this incredibly warm greeting that instantly makes you feel connected to the people who actually manage to survive and thrive out in this unforgiving, cold desert environment. And when I say unforgiving, I mean extreme. About a staggering altitude of 13,000 feet, we find Key Monastery. It's the largest monastery in the entire region. But you gotta ask, why build a massive structure all the way up here? Well, it was entirely intentional. The ancient monks who founded these places knew exactly the kind of atmosphere they needed for ultimate mental focus. They deliberately picked locations far, far away from crowded areas, villages, and cities so they could meditate completely undisturbed. The isolation isn't just an accident, it's literally a vital tool for their spiritual success. And it's not just a single building or a simple temple either. It is a fully functioning, self-sustaining town resting right there in the clouds. I mean, we're talking about their own schools, expansive temple and prayer halls, hostels for living, massive kitchens, restaurants, and even playgrounds. It's an entire complete ecosystem housing monks of every single age, from the very young kids all the way up to the elderly. So, who actually lives here? Zooming in on the people themselves, there's this fascinating local tradition that explains how this monastery is actually populated. Basically, in this region, there is a long-standing custom where the second boy child of every family is sent to the monastery to become a monk. It's a profound cultural commitment and deeply weaves the local villages and the monastery together across generations. Now, get this. Once a child is admitted, the monastery takes on full responsibility for them. They handle absolutely everything. Their physical, educational, and financial needs are totally covered. Food, clothing, a room, even pocket money, the whole shebang. But we have to remember, these are still just little kids. They naturally miss their parents. So to keep those family bonds strong, the young monks actually get to visit their nearby home villages, like the village of Khyber, on Sundays, and then they head back to the monastery on Mondays to keep up with their studies. Okay, so what does a typical day actually look like? A really beautiful way to experience the rhythm of the monastery is to witness the lunchtime prayer. Right at 12 o'clock noon, everyone gathers in the main prayer hall. They're served this traditional rich butter tea, and that's followed by deep, resonant chanting and prayer. But the real lesson in discipline, that happens right after the meal. Every single monk, kid, including the ones who are literally just 5 years old, is completely responsible for washing their own plates and bowls. They instill that independence and responsibility right from day one. But think about the logistics for a second. How do you actually feed an entire town of monks every single day at 13,000 feet? It's staggering. Inside their large kitchens, they have these massive cooking pots. These cookers are so unbelievably heavy that one man alone can't even lift them. It literally takes 2 people just to maneuver them onto the stove. They cook kilos upon kilos of lentils and rice for a single meal, and then that hot food is carried from the kitchen into the prayer hall in gigantic buckets. It is a massive, highly coordinated daily operation. And you can't talk about their diet without mentioning a local superfood called sattu. It's an absolutely crucial part of their daily routine and their culture as a whole. The process is pretty simple, but super important. They harvest a local barley known as jow, roast it, and then grind it down in a machine. This sattu is so deeply ingrained in Spiti culture that you will find it literally everywhere. They eat it because it's incredibly nutrient-dense, but they also physically use it to build and shape the holy structures they use for their prayers. It physically and spiritually sustains them. Now, despite this ancient, highly disciplined setting, the evenings at Key Monastery look remarkably relatable. When the day's studies wrap up, the young monk kids head straight out to the playgrounds. You'll see them running around, laughing, playing games of cricket or football. It's just a wonderful reminder that before they are spiritual masters, they are kids, full of energy and playfulness. But then we shift gears. As we look at the adult monks, that playful atmosphere of the courtyard completely shifts to unwavering discipline. The adult monks practice in these specially designed meditation caves, and these spaces, they are kept deliberately pitch dark, featuring only a single specific window. Why? Because when everything else is covered in absolute blackness, that one single source of light gives the mind exactly one thing to focus on. Honestly, learning about this specific practice in the dark caves brings up a really profound question. Think about us in the modern world. We're so eager to take care of our physical wellness, right? We feed our bodies every single day, morning, noon, and night. We grab that extra cup of coffee, we snack on dry fruits. But when was the last time you truly fed your mind? When was the last time you sat down and actively told your mind what to do, what to ignore, and what to focus on? Usually, it's the other way around. We just let our minds dictate our actions. We're under its control. And that is the crucial point of their practice, which is known as single-pointed meditation. By staring into the light of that single window in a dark cave, they are aggressively training the mind to remain entirely focused on one object without wavering. The underlying philosophy here is incredible. When your mind is finally in your control, your whole physical body and, by extension, your entire life will be in your control. They aren't just sitting there, they are actively seeking ultimate mental stability. Now, you might be wondering, looking at this incredibly strict regimen of dark caves and early chores, are these boys just trapped in this life because of some childhood tradition? Actually, no. The data tells a totally different story. Historically, out of around 350 monks, about 70 to 80 of them have actively chosen to quit the monastery. Remaining a monk is an active, voluntary choice. If the lifestyle just isn't for them, there is no force keeping them there. They are entirely free to leave and re-enter standard society. So why do so many, around 270 of them, choose to stay in this remote, challenging environment? Well, it comes down to a profound sense of gratitude. The monastery has acted as their parent, their school, and their provider since they were little kids. As one monk beautifully put it, the body can grow on its own, but the knowledge we acquire from here, we owe the monastery a lot. After 17 years or more of being entirely supported, they feel a deep, beautiful duty to give back. They dedicate their lives to the institution because the institution dedicated its resources to them. So as we wrap up this explainer on the Key Monastery, I want to leave you with this final thought to really chew on. Look, we may not live at 13,000 feet in a cold desert, and we definitely don't have our own dedicated meditation caves, but we all have the capacity for stillness. I invite you to reflect on your own mental discipline today. If you turned off the noise, stepped away from the screens, and spent just a few minutes in the dark cave of your own mind, what would you discover? Thank you so much for exploring with us, and I really hope this inspires you to find your own moment of focus today.